10 seconds to go. So the first of the three races underway. And this is a very fast start. It's slightly downhill, Brendan, isn't it?
The first mile is slightly downhill, and it's very good for the wheelchair athletes. And talking when Paul Dickinson was talking to Tani Gray, and she was talking about her experiences in the Paralympics, you've got to be impressed that she won the gold medal in the 100 metres, and yet here we are only a week and a half, 2 weeks later, and she's now doing a half marathon. Ordinary abled athletes can't actually run 100 metres and 400 metres at world level and also do half marathons, so she's obviously an outstanding athlete, and I think that kind of puts it in perspective what an all-round talent she is.
And of course, with the growth of the Paralympics, these athletes being recognised as outstanding sportsmen and women in their own right.
And David Holding, who won this race last year, who's an outstanding wheelchair athlete, is already in that leading group. And as they proceed now down towards the Tyne Bridge, back in only a few minutes' time, we'll be looking forward to the start of the women's race.
Well, now the women are getting ready for the start of their World Championship race. Liz McColgan, most people's favourite to win this event. Only had one adventure over a full marathon, and that's when she won the New York event last year in what was then the fastest ever first marathon run by a woman, since been surpassed by one of the Chinese.
Well, she said that on the start line in Barcelona, when we saw her smiling and shaking hands with people, that's when she realized that she wasn't going to win the Olympic 10,000 meters. And I've noticed today, I've been watching carefully, she hasn't been smiling, she hasn't been shaking hands. And she says if she's really intense in her concentration, she doesn't even think about anyone else, she thinks about herself. And she's taking her time to join them on the start line. Number 68, the world 10,000 meter champion, Liz McColgan. Right alongside her, the world 15-kilometer champion, Negura of Romania. And also in the group, we saw her just a second ago, was the world marathon champion, Wanda Panfil. So this isn't going to be all Liz McColgan's way. There's going to be a very competitive race. I think Liz is getting better, and I'm looking forward to seeing her run today. And she says she's very lucky. A couple of weeks after the Olympic Games, she's got the opportunity of trying to win a world title, because otherwise she might have found 1992 a disappointing year by her own very high standards.
107. It's Ferrix of the Netherlands. In the women's race, there are 26 teams. A reminder of the British five: Sally Eastall wearing 66, Liz McColgan 68, Suzanne Rigg 69, Andrea Wallace 70, Marion Sutton wearing 71. And like the men's race, when the elite men will be in front of all the club runners and people who train so hard. We call them fun runners, but it's hardly fair because they've put in a fair amount of work.
Well, after the euphoria of the first mile or so, I think the fun stops, and then they get down to their serious running. And when you talk to them afterwards, they tell you about their times and how they've compared the times over the years. And this first race, they're really getting ready for a very serious, high-level competition. It's a women's only race because the men won't go anywhere near them, so they won't see the masses until they actually get to the finish and have a look down the road just for a bit of fun. But they won't be involved in it. They'll be clear all the way. And they're starting 25 minutes before the men, so there won't be any chance of the men catching them. The fastest they can do is about 10 minutes faster than the women, so and that's why it's been designed in this way.
The last half minute of the countdown. And these races, these World Championships, being shown all over the world. interesting to see McColgan's tactics. Almost the whole year she's attacked, but surely not today in a half marathon.
Well, I asked her when I spoke to her about this race, and I said, would it be tactics as usual? And she said, no, it might be something slightly different. Well, let's see if she's checking her watch a little bit early there. I don't know what that's gonna tell her, because they've only been running for 25 seconds.
What's it told her, Brendan, is it that she's actually started it properly?
It's also told her that she's got it on.
I don't know about you, when you were competing, the most irritating thing for me was to think you'd started your watch, to take a quick look at it, and it hadn't.
Well, it's ironic that you should say that, but my watch still says 000, and I've forgotten to start mine, so we'll have to observe the Seiko timing to tell us exactly what they're doing. But they're coming up to a minute's running. It's quite calm, it's quite settled, and they all know that the first mile, it can be a bit quick. They all know what Jill Hunter did in this race last year. She went far too quickly in the early stages and paid for it later. And they're getting good support from those runners along, and there's a lot of them will now go back into the start group and get ready to run their own race. On the extreme left of the picture, in the yellow and green vest of South Africa, Colleen de Ruyck, who ran in the marathon, in the Olympic Games in the marathon, and finished very, very well in 9th place. And I'm surprised that she's able to recover, but the South Africans assured me that she would be. She'd run very well in the Olympic Games, and she was quite happy that she recovered sufficiently to come and run here.
Andresco, Romania, right up there. Several of the Italians, including Munarotto, and Wanda Panfil is there as well. 1:19, Wanda Panfil, winner of the London Marathon and the world champion at the marathon. But in a way, I mean, for the marathon runners, a half distance, well, it opens up the field a bit, doesn't it?
It certainly does. The good 10,000 meter runners like world champion Liz McColgan can have an opportunity, and the great marathon runners like Wanda Panfil can have an opportunity. And it's quite interesting to see the marathon champion pitted against the 10,000 meter champion at an in-between distance. Obviously in the early stages the 10,000 meter runners will find it comfortable, and I think some of the marathon runners will have to try and extend the pace in the middle of the race to give their strength and the distance running that they've done to get themselves in shape for the marathon, to give themselves that opportunity of making that pay. So that's an interesting opportunity. It's going to be an interesting race, and there's two types of runners in this race. There's the fast ones who run the 5 and 10,000 meters and the 3,000 meters, and then there's the strong ones who run over distance, who run the marathon, and even some of them, some of the South Africans in particular, run a little bit further than that.
The wheelchairs now on the way, approaching the 2-mile marker, Brian.
Well, they've just come over the Tyne Bridge, and they're coming up to 2 miles. And when they get over the Tyne Bridge, there's a slight incline, there's a slight drag there. That makes the mile time for the second mile quite difficult, and sometimes it throws you when you're looking at the results of this race.
Just for a moment, while the women athletes are on the underpass, we can't get the pictures from there, blocking the shot. And meanwhile, back at the start, they're gathering for the elite men's race, and the thousands and thousands and thousands who attend this event annually.
And 20 minutes to go before the start of the elite race, and also in conjunction with the elite race, the mass participation start. Now they're ready, they're getting lined up in their number order, and the furthest back they go is about 3/4 of a mile. A couple of years ago there was a good story about someone who started 3/4 of a mile behind. He was a transplant athlete. He'd had a kidney transplant, and he was being escorted by the doctor from the RVI, and he ran the 3/4 of the mile, got to the start, and then decided that he wasn't going to run the other 13, so he actually started running and didn't quite make the start, and therefore didn't make the finish.
Line run of 75 minutes. Bob Matthews, number 75.
How long does it take to get the slot through, Brendan? I mean, there are about 28,000 athletes there now.
There's about 28,000 athletes lined up there, and they usually, because it's a motorway and they're using both carriageways, one that goes over and one that goes under the bypass, they look at about 10 minutes to clear the field. And it's quite helpful that they take that time, because it allows them to not to go too fast in the early stages, which is essential. We talk about it a lot in a marathon, but in a half marathon it's just the same. You've got to conserve your energy, and you've got to conserve it for the later stages. it's easy to get carried away in the euphoria because the big crowds at the start and the big crowds around tend to make you do that. And the women have just gone through the first mile in 5 minutes and 10 seconds. Well, that's a good conservative start. It's not too fast. More significant what happens after 3 miles. There's Steve Cram looking quite casual walking along the road. Well, in the women's race, there's certainly nobody casual because that first 5 minute and 10 second was about what we thought they would run. About 68, 69 minutes is what we expect the women to run in today's half marathon, and that would be a good time.
Well, that's pretty sensible, actually, because it is a fast start, gradually sloping downhill. It's tempting to go fast, but they've obviously resisted that. 1 or 2 last-minute preparations being made. One of the elite teams. There's the athletes from Botswana. They're not running a full team of 5, but the first 3 count home. Aggregate time decides gold, silver and bronze. The Ethiopians will obviously go well in their familiar green vests. 51 and 52 are Fayisa and Bulbula. Good 10,000 meter run in Bulbula, been inside 28 minutes. Number 50, another of the Ethiopians, is Kidane Michael. We've seen him in action in the World Cross Country Championships. Number 14 is Norwood of Australia, won the Gold Coast half marathon in July. And these last minute preparations are important, and nothing more important than getting your shoes right, Brendan.
Well, that's the one thing that really can make the difference, and there's a temptation often when they come to these big races for athletes to wear new shoes, which is never recommended. And occasionally when you hear about an athlete who does wear new shoes, then they often come a cropper with blisters and things. But there's 15, 17 minutes away from the start. There's the race director, John Kane, looking a little anxious as he walks in amongst asking the question, are we ready? Getting his answer, but he's not very happy with it.
Well, now we can join a women's race. They're back in vision. They're approaching Tyne Bridge. Liz McColgan there, immediately recognisable. Andrea Wallace of Great Britain, numbers 1 and 2 for Great Britain. And what a pity Brenda Jill Hunter had to pull out, because the British women's team would have been very strong indeed. They're still strong, would have been very strong.
That's right, it certainly would have been, and she was very disappointed when she had to pull out, but I think it was quite sensible. She's had a problem with her Achilles tendon, and she was considering having an injection into her Achilles tendon, which sometimes can work and sometimes doesn't work. And I think Jill was quite sensible to bear her disappointment and just observe the race, just watch the race. She's desperately keen to win this race one day. Grew up in Tyneside, but now has moved living in America. Incidentally, her boyfriend is in the American team, Bill Reif-Snyder. And there's Liz McColgan, Andrea Wallace, Susan Rigg of Great Britain. And I can see a couple of the Ethiopians in that group. And we saw how formidable they can be when they get their act together.
51 is Fayisa, I think.
Well, I think that's a conservative pace. I think Liz is quite comfortable at this pace. I notice her glancing over her shoulder. She looks to be relaxed. Right behind her, Wanda Panfil, the world 10,000 meter champion, and alongside Panfil and Liz McColgan is Andrea Wallace, who ran very well in the London Marathon, was disappointed on the track in Barcelona, where she ran the 10,000 meters, and she told me yesterday she was thinking of dropping out in that 10,000 meters, but she didn't. And there they go on their way, a massive group of international athletes. They'll get well supported down the course, and the race will start in earnest in about 3 or 4 miles time, I think.
Approaching the 2-mile mark. Well, the mass gathering on the dual carriageway. They'll start on both sides of the carriageway. But of course, pride of place given to the elite runners taking part in the World Championship. But road running is one of the few events in which the ordinary runner can well, stand alongside almost the great internationals.
Well, that's right. There are 30,000 people here taking part in the World Half Marathon Championships. There's no other sport where the general public can just enter and take part. You can't play at Wimbledon, you can't play in the cup final, and you can't go into the Olympic Games. But you can run in a race where in the very same race you have people competing for the world title. Obviously we don't expect any of the club runners to come through and surprise us. It's getting very, very competitive there these days. But there is a thrill, and some of the jokes we heard at the registration yesterday were about how the Kenyans were going to run and how I was going to take on against the Kenyans. And we're looking at the time for the second mile of the women's race. They've gone through in 10:24, which means they ran the second mile in 5:14, which means two nice conservative opening miles, which means we're going to have a real serious race in the second part of this race today.
Well, just a word about the British team in the Men's World Championship, composed of Steve Grace. There's David Lewis from Rossendale, Carl Thackeray from Hallamshire, Mark Flint from Telford, who's got a good record in this race, and Paul Evans of Belgrave. Now, Paul, in fact, was 5th in the London Marathon earlier this year, the first Briton, and he was also the first Briton in the 10,000 metres in the Olympic Games when he finished 11th. He's had a very good season indeed. Paul is with Hazel Irvine, who first asked him about his improvement over the last 12 months.
Well, I think it was last year really, training for the London Marathon. I put lots of miles in the winter. I was, you know, knocking up to 130 mile a week, and it just gave me so much strength that after the London Marathon, when I hadn't made the Olympic team, my coach said to me, you know, you'll find that the strength, you'll carry that onto the track, and, you know, you'll get PBs over probably 10 and 5. And he was quite right, you know. I ran well on the strength really for 5s and 10s, you know, and the season's been, you know, unbelievable. And unbelievably good. It's just, you know, sometimes I have to pinch myself to, you know, realise it's happened, you know.
And suddenly you come here to Gateshead as one of the favourites for this half marathon. Extra pressure on you?
No, not really. I mean, when I tell a line tomorrow, I won't be thinking that, you know. I mean, I'm thinking about how Paul Evans is going to run. There's no pressure on me at all, you know. I'll get out there tomorrow. I'm going to do my best, try and get in there group early on, and you know, just take it from there, really.
Yours is an interesting history in athletics. I believe, indeed, it wasn't your first love. Tell us about that.
No, I used to play football locally, but didn't have a lot of success at that. You know, my problem was when somebody gave me the ball, I could run about for 90 minutes, but that's where the problem started. And as I said, I started running. There was a local race in our town, 10K. Just done it for a charity, really, and it snowballed from there. So, I mean, 6 years ago, I was running. I was a fun runner, and enjoying it, and it's just snowballed from there. So, you know, I can, you know, see that. You know, I think it's great that 30,000 people will be running tomorrow for fun, because 6 years ago, I mean, that was me.
Well, fun runs start.
Paul Evans, one of the British team, winning the Men's World Championship, which starts in about 10 minutes' time. Well, the women well on the way now. They're through the second mile. First mile 5:10, the second mile 5:14. 1:19, Wanda Panfil. 70, Andrea Wallace. 68, Liz McColgan. The two Ethiopians tracking them hard.
A little bit more.
That's Roba wearing 36 and Avesa wearing 38. Also there in that leading group is Andrescu of Romania wearing 127 and Asahima of Japan wearing 98. The leading Italian at the moment is Skornik. He's wearing 92, and Katuna is there as well of Romania wearing 128.
Well, Liz McColgan looks quite relaxed in the lead in that group. She's quite happy there. She looks a lot more comfortable at this pace than I felt she did in some stages in the 10,000 metres in the Olympic Games. She feels as though her form's coming back. She feels as though the anemia, which she's been using iron tablets to try and get that fixed, she feels as though it's been working for her, and she looks relaxed there. And if you like to run in the front, which Liz does, then as long as you're going at the pace that you feel comfortable at, there's no reason why you can't lead in international races. Alongside her, Andrea Wallace, who's obviously decided that she's going to try and match Liz McColgan. And there in the purple vest, the world marathon champion, Wanda Panfil of Poland. And just behind them is Colleen de Ruyck of South Africa, who was more of a 10,000 metre and half marathon runner until she ran in those Olympic Games. So this looked to be a promising start, and the expected leader, Liz McColgan, the expected favourites, Wanda Panfil and the Ethiopians. Good race in prospect.
Just approaching 3 miles, so we may get the clock frozen at 3 miles. 5:10, 5:14, the first 2 miles. Certainly no one getting carried away, and that's good news. Just checking their watches there, 15:50 there, and that's a much slower third mile. In fact, it's about 5:26 as it says there.
That's good. We're getting good timing information on the course, and that helps us, and it also, I'm sure, helps the athletes. I'm sure Liz McColgan and Andrea Wallace will be checking their watches and realizing that, you know, this is a good solid pace, good steady pace. Right alongside Liz McColgan, Rosanna Monoroto in the blue vest of Italy, number 91. She ran in the Olympic Games in the 10,000 meters and was 16th. She's also run further than this before. She's run the IWF 15K race, and I think she'll run well today. McColgan looks comfortable there, though.
Oh, the Ethiopian now taking over. Number 36 is Roba, and it looks like the first real pressure.
Well, Fatima Roba of Ethiopia there. We have really little information about the Ethiopian runners. We know that obviously be good because they ran a trial and they were selected for this event. She's running in a t-shirt there, which is it's not a cold day. It's quite warm out there, but she's never run internationally before. She's never run overseas before, and Liz McColgan's just letting her go. Andrea Wallace is just letting her happen, and there, number 136 in the green and yellow South Africa is Colleen de Ruyck.
Actually, the South Africans have got one or two useful athletes here. They've clocked some very fast times at home. Interesting to see now they're in truly international competition, what they can reproduce. The Japanese is Ashahima rather, wearing 98. Also there for Ethiopia, number 38, Atsi. Muniroti of Italy on the inside. Good 10,000 metre runner, stepped up in distance, wearing 91. 92 alongside her is Skornik, the other Italian. 43 in the foreground. That's this was one of the useful athletes, by the way, Elgina of the unified team. 97 is Takimoto of Japan. Also there is 100, Fujiwara, also Japan. Tikkanen, we saw a moment ago, going through 71. There's Marion Sutton of Great Britain. And Block of United States, 157.
Well, we've seen Andrea Wallace run some good races all around this country. Internationally, she's done very well in the World 15K Championships. But I think today she's running with a new spirit. I'm sure she feels as though she wants to match Liz McColgan, and she's certainly doing that. Panfil right behind them, tracking them. Skornik behind those two. But the two British women leading, running together, both looking strong, both looking comfortable, and the pace is very sensible. That's what I'm impressed with.
Actually, the Italian who's moved through the Rendon is Munirotto, who's not got much form over a half marathon, but she's a good 10,000 metre runner. Skornik is in that leading group, but it's Munirotto is the closest at the moment. The Ethiopians, both looking fairly frisky. Just a word about their form. We've got Roba with absolutely no background whatsoever, and Absi too. no background whatsoever, so we've been searching around to try and get information about them, but they're completely new to the international scene. But clearly, like most of the African athletes, male or female, unafraid.
Well, that's a nice sight, seeing the two British athletes running controlled, running comfortably, running at the front. Well, Andrea Wallace, I'm impressed with her start. I'm sure she's decided that she's Barcelona performance is behind her, and she's better on the roads. She's better over a half marathon than she is over 10 kilometers. She's probably not quite strong enough for a marathon yet, but she's run the London Marathon. She was 5th in the London Marathon. And Liz McColgan with only one marathon behind her, the owner of the fastest recorded legitimate half marathon time of 67 minutes and 11 seconds. So she knows this road, she knows the distance, and that's good positions, 1 and 2. I hope it's not too early though.
Well, there's the 4 miles point gone. 21:17, the last mile 5:27. So they've gone 5:10, then 5:14, 5:26, 5:27. So on a very slight climb now up towards the 5th mile marker. And meanwhile, back at the start, with the Elite Women's World Championship well on the way, the athletes are getting ready now for the start of the Men's World Championship. And also, all these runners from all over the country, indeed from all over Europe, who are taking part in this Great North Run, lining up behind the elite athletes who were drawn from 29 teams.
3 minutes to go.
What a sight. Well, Brennan, you said that they go back 3/4 of a mile. It looks longer than that.
Yeah, it's a long 3/4 of a mile. Well, they're the elite athletes. It's going to be a very competitive men's race today. Athletes from many, many countries. The Africans are the ones that they're all talking about. And it's a very good British team. I'm impressed with the quality of the both British men's and women's team. You know, they've had tough seasons, but once the Olympic Games were out of the way, then this was the race that a lot of the Britons were aiming for, especially the marathon runners and some of the 10,000 metre runners. They're joking now with the starters. There's Carl Thackeray, who didn't go to the Olympic Games, ran a very good 10-mile race just last week, 46 minutes, number 71 Carl Thackeray. He's managing a joke with one of the starters. He's asking him to let him through quickly. I think that's nervous tension.
Actually, there's a lot of tension down there, no doubt, but still they're having a smile about it. And fairly relaxed. They've got a lot of time to settle down. And Carl Thackeray knows this course well. He ran a very fine race last year when he finished 4th. And indeed, I think he might have finished a bit higher up, but he had a go to try and win it and broke himself in about the 12th mile. But he still finished in 4th place. And of course, we've got the winner from last year, the Kenyan, Masha, taking part and leading a very, very strong Kenyan team indeed. Benson Masha will be wearing all the ones. And the last minute now of the countdown. Number 89, Panetta of Italy, a world steeplechase champion in Rome in '87. He also got the silver medal in the 10,000 meters. Been injured, won this year's Italian cross-country championship, but missed the Olympic Games through injury. Came back though in Brussels and ran a very good 10,000 meters to finish 2nd.
He also said then that day that that was his last serious track race, and he's now going to move up to the marathon. And this is the perfect step. Francesco Panetta of Italy. We've admired him on the track, and I wouldn't be surprised if he turns into a formidable road runner, and eventually I think he'll run an outstanding marathon.
Well, in the women's World Championship, we had a very, very steady start indeed. So of course, the sheer weight of numbers here will mean that they'll be pushing very, very hard in the first half mile.
10, 9, the plunger goes up, and the plunger is up. 3, 2,
I think there was a thought there the cigar might explode. Well, as expected, they've gone off very quickly. Elite runners on both sides of the highway. And the Ethiopians have got started quickly. There's two of them on the near side, and one of them going very, very swiftly. Looking at the Ethiopian team, they're very strong. They've got number 49, Milkza, then Michael, wearing number 50, Bayesa 51, Bulbula 52, and Bakili 53. Well, it looks like a really smooth and well-organised start.
Well, it certainly helps that it starts on a dual carriageway on the central motorway in Newcastle, and they're already running, moving through the start. Less than half of them through there, and you can see them just coming in from where they've been sitting on the grass banks.
People may feel, Brendan, it's a little bit unfair. The athletes on the near side seem to have the advantage of the bend, but that's compensated for later, isn't it?
It is, because they go underneath the motorway, which bends a little, and the athletes on the left-hand side of the picture here will go over the top of the motorway. And you can see this side, the right-hand side of our shot, the elite athletes, and then on the left-hand side are the club runners. And I'm sure they're quite happy that that's the course that they take. And that's a very fast start, a very controlled start, but a very fast start at the front on the elite athletes.
Actually, the two leaders at the moment, an Ethiopian and one of the South Africans. Melkesa, the Ethiopian, is the man who's leading, wearing number 49. Also there is Faisa of Ethiopia, Machiwara 2 of South Africa, Dos Santos wearing 26 from Brazil, and Wackenbrunner from Germany wearing number 62. Those are the 6 leading athletes we spotted. And meanwhile, a long way ahead, well, I say a long way ahead, they've gone through 5 miles now. The Women's World Championship well in progress. That's Munarata of Italy. McColgan there. Also Ashit Ima of Japan, wearing 98. 130 is Nagura of Romania. 2 Ethiopians still hanging around there, Roba and Habsa. But they are beginning to split a little bit. And news of the time, they went through 5 miles in 26:46. That was the slowest mile time so far at 5:29. The first mile was 5:10, then 5:14, then 5:26, 5:27, 5:29. Nobody's taking any chances.
No, in the women's race, I think they took the start very casually and very, very sensibly. I'm not so sure that's what's happening in the men's race. I think they're going very, very quickly in the start of the men's race. Maybe it's because the mass participants are all around them, but I think they set off frenetically. I'd be very interested to see the time for the first mile in the men's race.
Just look at the Japanese in there, Brendan. There's 4 of them. In team terms, at this moment, there's no doubt the Japanese are leading, but this is very early days. The first 3 from each team home count. Andrea Wallace is right at the back of the field there now, having been with Liz McColgan, but slightly losing her place. Running wide 43 is Elina of the unified team. 4th in the CIS 10,000 metre championship.
Well, I think I was right about the men's time. They've gone through the first mile in 4 minutes and 26 seconds. That's pace for under an hour in a half marathon, which is incredible pace. And I'm sure they won't run under an hour, or I'll be very surprised if they do. But the mass numbers, the big, strong athletes in the lead, they went very, very quickly. You could tell they were doing that, and I think they're going to have to slow down The women's race is more sensible, it's more conservative pace. And whilst we're here now in the women's race, they're still pouring over the start line at the start of the regular Diet Coke Great North Run.
Actually, we've been given a second time for that first mile, but it's still very fast. It's been altered from 4:26 to 4:30, but it's still fast. So we've got 2 times there. De Rook in the yellow of South Africa, looking very, very strong. In Rotto of Italy on the far side, McColgan is there. Ashihima, Absa, Roba of Ethiopia, Ilyina, the unified team. Andrew Wallace just to the back. Also there, showing for the first time, is number 45, Titova of the unified team. She's run the best ever half marathon by a Soviet athlete, or former Soviet athlete, I should say, and won the Stockholm half marathon this year. That's Titova wearing number 45. Well, still they're streaming through. The race was started about 7-8 minutes ago, and there are still thousands to cross the starting line.
Well, it's this bit of the race that makes the spectacle of 150 world-class athletes so popular, because it's the 30,000 mass participants that make this the occasion. If you had 150 world-class distance runners and they were racing for the World Championship, I'm sure you wouldn't have this level of attention. I'm sure it's because here there are 30,000, they've all got friends and family, and looking up down the coast road here where we are, they all look as though they're already waiting here for them, sitting on the bankside where they have been all morning, carrying their names in case they spotted on television, and they were.
Well, now I can jump ahead to the Tyne Bridge, beyond the mile marker, approaching 2 miles. The familiar outline of the famous bridge, and the leading men already going across it. Pick up 1 or 2 of the athletes for you in a moment. The South Africans in the yellow showing prominently. And the Kenyans, by the way, not wearing their normal national colours. They're wearing blue, and that's Benson Mashua, 111. And Bikili of Ethiopia, number 53, is there. And they're certainly forcing the pace, there's no doubt at all. Typically African running over a distance. They like to push it, they like to attack, and they're certainly doing just that.
Well, the men's race is very, very fast in that early stages. And as we look from the Tyne Bridge back to the start, which is about a mile away, we go back to the start, and they're just coming. The one carriageway on the left-hand side is now clear, and we're coming to the whole start being cleared. I'm just looking at my watch, it's taken them about 8.5 minutes.
And that was interesting, Brendan. Did you notice the ones on the busy side of the road, ducking under the ribbons to get some free space?
You can't blame them for that. It's going to be a long day ahead for these, but that's the way they like it. They got their buckets ready to collect for charity, and the Great North Run is well underway now. They're almost all running.
Well, we've got more news now. The women's race, they've gone through the next mile slightly faster in 5 minutes 22. So the 6 mile marker, 32.08. Elizabeth Colgan, Ashihima, where she's been all the time. Ashihima, Japan, tucked in behind. Nagura of Romania in the leading group. Ilyina of the unified team, 43. De Rook, just at the back of that group, rather yo-yoing a little bit. She keeps losing her place.
Well, I think the fact that she ran the Barcelona Marathon, I mean, it was a tough race. The course was immensely difficult. The weather was really oppressive, and they were telling me the other day that she'd recovered well for this race, but I'd be very surprised if she is in contention in the later stages here, because you can't run a marathon so recently and still be competitive in a race of this level. The better approach to this is number 91 Munerato and Liz McColgan's approach. They run the 10,000 meters and the Olympic Games, and that's a better preparation for a half marathon. And Liz was telling us the other day that the next Olympic Games she'll be running the marathon. So her transition to the marathon has started with her running a very fast marathon in her first one last year, then this half marathon, also a half marathon in Tokyo earlier this year, and then in a few weeks' time she'll run a marathon in Tokyo. Obviously a good place for Liz, Tokyo. She wins all her races there. And in Atlanta, in 4 years' time, she'll attempt to run the marathon. She looks comfortable though. She looks better to me today than we've seen her for most of this season. She's been labouring, I think, in some of her races. Even though she was winning them and she was running fast times, she wasn't looking as smooth as she does now.
Actually, they're approaching the Jarrow Stadium where Steve Cram and David Sharp train. Back we go to Tidebridge. What a sight this is. Well, I suppose there you've got in one shot, if there is pleasure in running a marathon, the joy of actually running it. And finding companions around you will probably remain friends for life.
And that's the photograph that will be in the front page on the local paper tomorrow.
Well, now we can go up to the leading men. Two Kenyans still in front. The leader looks like last year's winner, Benson Nasher. Pick up one or two of the others in a moment. Number 23 is Ditetso of Botswana. 49, Bilkisa of Ethiopia. Also there is 295, Tamani of South Africa. 298, Tanui, the Kenyan. That's Moses Tanui, by the way, the world champion at 10,000 meters, just out of the shot there. 298, and he's been dropped, Brendan, by the Kenyan team. He's running as an individual in the race, but he hasn't made the Kenyan team.
No, he won't count in the team race, but he'll count in the individual race, and if he was to win it, he would be the world 10,000 meter champion, would become the first ever world half marathon champion. Just behind Moses Tanui, I can see Carl Thackeray, who ran 46 minutes for 10 miles a couple of weeks ago, and that was an outstanding run. There's Mark Flint and Dave Lewis, so the British team are getting up there. Paul Evans is in that group too, and they're approaching Gateshead Stadium, and approaching the 3-mile mark. And there's the stadium where we've seen some outstanding performances in recent years, but they won't be terribly interested in what's going on there today. They'll be more interested in how they're placed. Well, you can tell that race has gone off with speed because the gap behind that leading group is quite substantial. Moses Tanui. Benson Masher was talking very confidently the other day. He came here last year, told us the night before that he was going to win the race. He told us yesterday that he was going to win the race again. He ran a good race the other day in Swansea. And even looking at him, you know, he was a boxer. He was a former champion boxer in Kenya. Oh, and look at that acceleration. Just moves away gracefully and fast from that pack. He just looked over his shoulder and just stretched it. And he looks ever so powerful, ever so strong.
It's just underlined the first 3-mile times. 4:26, it's now been confirmed that the original time was right. Well, I think that's the quickest start we've had in the Great North Run ever. Then 4:30 for the second mile. 4:37 for the third, so they're flying. And in fact, they've gone through 3 miles in 13:33.
And that's under an hour for the half marathon, which we don't really expect to happen. There's someone had a little tumble there. That was, well, he got up neatly from it, but it obviously hadn't done him any good.
Well, now we can move ahead to the women's race. And Andrew Wallace in trouble. The leading pack's getting away from her. She's now racing the second place for Britain, but she's losing quite a lot of ground and clearly suffering.
That's the boy, that's lovely.
The
Well
Roy.
done, Roy.
And then the Japanese in numbers, 4 of them there. That's Munirotto, an old opponent of Liz McColgan, over 10,000 metres. She finished 16th, by the way, in the Olympic Games 10,000 metres. Rosanna Munirotto, number 91. And this her first outing, so far as we know, over the half marathon. That's Roba of Ethiopia, just behind, 36. And Nagura is 1:30, the Romanian. And then, well, in the team event, without any doubt, although it's aggregate time, at this stage, with 3 to count, you've got to say the Japanese are the very, very clear leaders.
Well, if you refer back to the Olympic Games, they were clearly the strongest distance running nation in the Olympic Games in the marathon. In the men's race, they had 2nd, 4th, and 8th. In the women's race, they had 2nd, 4th, and then their other runner let them down slightly and was 30th. But overall, the Japanese were by far the strongest marathon running nation, and they feel that the half marathon is a good step up to the marathon, and I tend to agree with that.
And in fact, between miles 6 and 7, they went 5:11, the women, so they are speeding up. They've gone through 7 miles in 37:19. Well, meanwhile, we go back to the men's race. Started some 25 minutes later, and still, well, Benson Masher out in front. 1:08 just behind him is Aguta, another Kenyan. And there's the other Kenyan who can't make the team, the world 10,000 metre champion. 2:98 in 4th place, Tanui. 2:99 is Turgai, another Kenyan who can't make the team.
Well, actually, Paul Turgat was who won the Kenyan cross-country trials and then was ill and wasn't able to run in Boston. We haven't heard much of him since, but I was very impressed with his running in the Olympic cross-country trials. When you think of what a team he led there, and number 108 next to him, Lamek Aguta, the other Kenyan, and in the lead, Benson Masher is really stretching them along, really moving this pace along, and he looks comfortable. He does look the boxer, though, doesn't he? He's got strong shoulders, strong muscles for a distance runner. He looks relaxed, though.
Well, Moses to do it. There's something to prove to the Kenyan selectors. Turgat, too. And the Kenyans, actually, if they had those two in the team, would be certainly heading the team race at the moment.
It'd be like the World Cross Country Championships, where they often have 9 and 10.
Cilio of Argentina's just joined them as well. Also there, 25, is De Freitas Castro of Brazil. So just checking through the leaders there, we've got Aguta is 108, Cilio is number 13, Kano 109, Castro 25, and Paul Evans is just in that group there. I can just see his fair head bobbing up and down just behind the leaders. But Paul looks as if he's having to work very hard, as indeed they all are at this pace.
Well, but I think he's in the right place. Just off the group, you can see how hard he's working, and you can see how smooth the Kenyans are running, and you can see how fast this race is. The last mile of 4:39, so they've run 4 miles in 18 minutes and 12 seconds, which is way under 60 minutes pace. I don't think they'll keep this pace going, so I think Paul Evans is in a good place. He's really keen to run well today. But Benson Masher, well, last year, the way he won comfortably last year, and he was almost invincible when he won this race last year. He looks good today, too.
26 there is Dos Santos of Brazil. But they've certainly, the Kenyans, by attacking, are splitting them up. Just trying to see who the athlete in purple is who's hidden there. 177, and that is Boe Akune of Tanzania. Well, Masher, of course, spends most of his time nowadays in this country, but he looks to me as if he's really come well prepared for this one.
He certainly has, and as I said earlier, he was telling us yesterday that he felt he would win this race, and there was going to be no danger to the Kenyans in the team race. The only danger to the Kenyans are the other Kenyans. Moses Tanui, Paul Evans there, Carl Thackeray running hard, And we're looking further down the road and we can see the South Africans. They're obviously turned out in force and they'll feature. But I mean, the first 4 miles, very, very quick. But no, don't forget, there's 9 miles to go.
Well, now we've got news of the women's race, and they've run a tremendously fast mile. The fastest mile so far, that was between 7 and 8. They've gone through that mile in 5 minutes and 4 seconds, so no wonder they're splitting up. In fact, the last 2 miles there, from 6 to 8, they've run in 10 minutes 15 seconds. McColgan right there, number 36 is Boba of Ethiopia. No international form whatsoever. Fujiwara of Japan is there, and just hidden, I think it must be Munarotto of Italy.
I think Liz McColgan means business now. I think she's now pushing on and trying to break this field. She won't know much about the form of the Japanese or of Roba of Ethiopia. She'll know about Munarotto. She'll feel confident that she can beat Munarotto, and now you can see the serious look in her eyes. She's got her head down, she's working hard, she's running smoothly, I feel. And she's beginning to press and just beginning to pull them along at a pace that maybe is faster than they want to travel at. And that's what it's about for Liz McColgan.
The most experienced half-marathon runner she's got there is with her is Fujiwara, 100 from Japan, who's got a best time of 70 minutes 46 seconds, which is pretty fast. She was third in the Yamaguchi half-marathon this year. But whereas we had 4 Japanese in that early pack, those last 2 miles have sorted them out.
And this is a crucial part of the race for Liz McColgan. She's stretching them, and she knows that she's stretching them. The Japanese moved up alongside her and then quickly fell in behind her. Now I think it's up to Liz now just to keep this pressure on for the next mile or two. And we've seen her do this before. She's capable of running on her own. She's capable of leading, and she's capable of applying the pressure gradually. And you can see that's happening. Munarotto in 4th place is beginning to struggle, and McColgan looks determined, and there Roba of Ethiopia moves alongside her. Well, that's what they've watched other people do. The other Ethiopian in the Olympic Games did that to Liz McColgan and eventually beat her in the Olympic Games. But McColgan working hard there. She knows that this race, it's possible for her to win it, and it would be a nice end of the year if she could do it. And she just really has to just keep applying the pressure and let it take 3 miles to break them. You can't always do it over the course of a couple of 100 meters. It sometimes takes miles to break down the opposition.
Well, certainly Liz looking very composed and very concentrated. And I think the idea here is for Roba trying to upset McColgan's rhythm. They've just gone through the last mile. It's a slow one because there's a slight climb in it in 5:26. 9 miles, 47 minutes, 49 seconds. Munarotto trying to relax. And this is becoming a very critical area with 4 there on the attack. The Japanese, Fujiwara, just content to stay behind. Munarotto now testing McColgan. I think there's a feeling, actually, after this season, Brendan, among the distance women, that the way to upset Liz McColgan is to not allow her to dictate.
Well, last year she was doing that, and earlier this year she was doing that all the time. I think they do realize that a way to upset her is to get in front of her or get alongside her, but it doesn't seem to be bothering her today. She seems to be concentrating, she seems to be full of running, and I just think she needs to realize that it'll take a few miles to wear down the competition. The Japanese girl is slipping off the back of the group. Munarotto looks to be struggling, and McColgan stretching them now.
And the significance there is the distance these 4 have put between themselves and the rest. Those 2 miles have really sorted the rest out. They're a long way back down the road. We'll have a look back at the men now. The Kenyans still there. The miles have gone 4:26, 4:30, 4:37, 4:39, 4:50. And Mash is saying to his Well, he's not his teammate today. He's not been picked. Aguta, why don't you have a go? 108 is a teammate, picked in the side. But 299 is the non-teammate, Turgat. 177, Akune of Tanzania. And I'm just having a look there. The Cilio of Argentina's right there. And Tanui is in that leading group, but not showing any signs of wanting to take on the two leaders. Just to underline that, the two non-scoring members of the Kenyan team are both wearing red. The national team is wearing blue, which I've never seen before, actually, in an international race.
No, they often turn up with new strips. We usually get them running in green and red in the World Junior Championships. They've been impressing the others and running in their normal strips, but here the Kenyan strip is blue.
Actually, I've noticed, Brendan, on the Grand Prix circuit, a lot of the individuals have been wearing blue, but this is a world championship, an international race in which they represent their country. I've never seen them do this before.
Well, at least all the team members are in the same colour strip, so we can identify them. You can see 4 of the Kenyans in that blue strip in the first 10. And there's Carl Thackeray just ahead of Paul Evans and Francesco Panetta there. Dave Lewis coming through the shot. And looking a little bit further down the field, Mark Flint of Great Britain running very well. He always runs well in the Great North Run. I was talking to him yesterday. He says, yes, I'm on schedule. I'll run my annual good race in the Great North Run.
Well, now we can go back to the women's race. And McColgan trying to shake them up. Only Munarotto now of Italy has gone with her. Fujiwara in 3rd place, the Japanese, and the Ethiopian Roba is obviously feeling it. Well, certainly, the pressure's beginning to tell. The leading 3 are away. I'll just check the women's mile times again. The last mile was 5:26, and they're now approaching 10.
I just feel at this point Liz just has to keep pressing for another mile or so. Munarotto's in 2nd place there. She looks to be struggling, and Liz looks comfortable today. She looks to be controlled at this pace, and I think she senses that the opportunity is there for her. She just accelerated a little there as she went past the feed station, and now Liz McColgan, we've seen her do this many times before. She looks as though she means business. She looks relaxed. She's taking her own time at 10 miles, 5 minutes and 1 second, 52.50 for 10 miles. He knows how diligent she was getting her time there.
And no wonder they've broken up. 5:01 for that mile. And that is the quickest mile in the race so far between miles 9 and 10.
And that's the best time to do it when you're running well. McColgan's obviously running well today, and you can see Munarotto is battling to stay in contention. The race isn't over, but McColgan's now got a great winning chance.
Certainly Munarotto now is feeling this. That last mile was a real, well, bid for victory in every sense. 5:01. Meanwhile, in the men's race, there's more action there, and the Kenyans are breaking it up. Benson Masher, last year's winner. Alongside him, at 177, is Boe Akuna of Tanzania. A little bit about him. We've not seen much of him on the international circuit, but he has run inside 28 minutes for 10,000 metres and has run a half marathon in 61:43. So he's pretty useful, and he's looking very relaxed. 108 is there. It's a Guta. And Benson Masher, actually, is the one who's dropped slightly off the pace. Turgat, the non-scoring Kenyan, followed by Tanui. And meanwhile, back up front in the women's race, a real development with McColgan starting to break away.
Well, she's broken a few yards. She's got the winning opportunity now. She'll sense that, and she needs to keep applying the pressure. She needs to keep pushing along. She doesn't want to start thinking about what's happening behind her, and she looks all the more relaxed athlete now for having those few yards. Munarotto, we felt, was struggling a little, and we felt that Liz just had to gently apply the pressure. And you can see Munarotto suffering a little bit. She's warming up a lot. She's dancing down at the road. and she's just got to keep her eyes fixed on McColgan, who's in the lead now. In third place there, the Japanese girl, and the Ethiopian now has dropped altogether out of the picture. McColgan there, 55 minutes of running behind her, another 2.5 miles to go, and she goes striding around that roundabout with a renewed confidence.
Well, this is a relaxed McColgan with a new bounce in her step that we haven't seen this season. She's clearly coming back to her very best. She thought she was clear of the viral problems she had, which were giving her breathing problems. So she tried this distance in the Scottish half marathon, Great Scottish Run, a couple of weeks ago, really regarding it as training. And in doing so, she not only won it, but collected £10,000, which is not a bad training ground.
Certainly isn't a bad training run, but doesn't she look good this time? Doesn't she look different than what she did a few weeks ago? And she's been taking her iron tablets, and with vitamin C, which absorbs the iron, gets it into your system, and allows the blood to transport the oxygen to the muscles, and that allows you to run more freely than we've seen her for a little while. Her future is certainly on the road. She's told us that she's going to run the Olympic marathon in 4 years' time. And look at Liz McColgan in full flow. She's a great athlete. She's attempted to win 2 major titles this year. The World Cross Country title she was disappointing in. The Olympic Games she was 5th, and by many people's standards that's good performance, but by Liz's own high standards that's disappointing. And she felt she had an opportunity today. She felt it was great that she could come only a few weeks later and try and win a world title, the first ever world half marathon title. But now she's just got to keep working at it. There's no easing back in pace. They're getting quite excited on the side of the road, and I'm sure she'll appreciate it. And when she comes along the seafront, she'll get a tremendous reception, but she just has to keep at it.
And this is a testing part of the course. It's not a sharp climb by any means, but it's a gentle climb. And you may remember last year, it was this part of the race that undid Jill Hunter. But that doesn't look like happening to Liz McColgan. She's looking very, very organised. In second place, Munirotto of Italy. No previous record of a half marathon for her, but she's always been a good track 10,000 metre runner. She was 15th in the World Championship 10,000 metres last year and 16th in the Olympic Games. She's very experienced. She was 14th in the last Olympic Games in Seoul. She's now 29. And in third place, Fujiwara hanging in and sensing perhaps that the Italian is fading a little bit. Fujiwara. She's 23. 70 minutes and 46 seconds, her best ever. But she's run 10,000 metres in 32 minutes 3 seconds. And she's clearly gaining some inspiration from the fact that Munirotto is having a hard time. And the gap increasing all the time.
I think Liz McColgan's working hard now. You can see the occasional glance of strain on her face. 58 minutes and 10 seconds for 11 miles. 5:20 for that particular mile. But that's slightly climbing that mile. So she's got just over 2 miles to go, and she needs to keep the pace just over 5 minutes and 10, 5 minutes and 20 seconds, because it's all about her now. I don't think anyone is going to come with a rush, and I think if Liz can just keep this pace going, then the world title is hers.
Well, Liz McColgan can relax a little bit now, just keep driving before the sharp downhill drop to the beach road and on towards the finish. But she's still climbing slightly here. Then there's a very, very sharp incline down to the seafront. So she looks to have this race pretty well under control. Meanwhile, in the men's race for this World Half Marathon Championship, there's a group away. Well, this is the surprise man. Akune of Tanzania. He's now some 25 meters clear and putting the pressure on. He was 5th in Stramilano last year, but he's obviously improved since, and he's going to improve the way he's going on that personal best half marathon of 61:43. His last mile, by the way, was running 4:22. So those are quick miles actually between 6 and 8. The previous mile was 4:30. I mean, these are unbelievable times.
Well, David, I'm just working out the split times, and if they're accurate, and they're coming from Seiko Timing, and they're the most experienced timekeepers on distance races in the world, then this half marathon is on schedule to run about 58 minutes, and that is incredible. No one's ever legitimately run under an hour for a half marathon. I sense that that is not going to happen. I don't think it's going to be won in 58 minutes, and so I think we should concentrate on not only the leader but the second group and see what's happening in there, because there's an awful lot can happen in the last half of this race.
Actually, the course record and the fastest time in the world at that stage was 2 years ago by Steve Moneghetti, the Australian, 60 minutes 34 seconds. That's well, that's really under threat. We might be able to have a look in a moment at that chasing group and see who's there. Kenyans are there, obviously there in considerable numbers, but I think they'll be surprised to find the Tanzanian going away from them. We've got Masha, Turgat there, Tanui, we've got Silio of Argentina. But with 3 to count, there's no question in the men's teams race, the Kenyans, as usual, are dominant, even if they're not in the first position. They're certainly in the first position in the team race, but in the solo race, I think they may be having a bit of a surprise, eh?
Well, at the moment it is a surprise, and look at that mile time, 4:21. That's incredible running at this distance after 8 miles. 36 minutes and 15 seconds at 8 miles. Well, they don't have records at 8 miles, but if they did, that would be the fastest anybody's ever run. And there is Benson Masha, last year's winner. Well, he's been taken totally by surprise with the performance of Akone, the Tanzanian, who's run 27 minutes 50 seconds for a 10,000 meters. So he's a good 10,000 meter runner. He's a world-class 10,000 meter runner, but we've never seen him perform like this before.
Turgat, the tall man in red. 109 is Kano, the policeman from Kenya. Just behind him is the other counting Kenyan, 108, who's at Buta. Moses Tanui, who's not in the team, just out of the shot, the world 10,000 meter champion, and the one non-African in the leading group is Silio of Argentina.
Well, in second place there you can see Benson Masha, who's got a few yards over the group, and looking further down the road, Boa Kune of Tanzania has got about 50 or 60 meters lead ahead of Benson Masha, and they're turning round that roundabout onto the John Reed Road, which leads them into South Shields. Well, there's a lot going to happen in this race, I'm pretty certain of. Whatever happens, we've seen some fantastic running so far, and I wonder if they can just keep anything like this pace going, because if they do, they'll shatter the world's best for half marathon.
Well, we've got a clear leader in the men's race, but a very, very clear leader in the women's race, already in sight of the finish. She's in the last mile of the race. Liz McColgan of Great Britain has run a half marathon, Liz McColgan, before, and in fact, she won that race in 67 minutes 11 seconds. She won't be too worried about the time today, though. This is the championship of the world.
And she'll be very, very pleased. She'll be enjoying this last mile. The crowd will be giving her tremendous support. And they've always seen Liz McColgan giving of her very best. And the one thing you can say about Liz McColgan is she never lets you down. She'll always run as hard as she possibly can. But it's a long mile along the seafront here. It just seems to last forever because you're tired when you get here and you've got to run awfully hard just to keep it going.
Looks like we may have a change in second place. Fujiwara catching the Italian fast.
And there McColgan, you can see how hard she's working, but she'll work as hard as anyone to get to finish 1992 with a victory in a half marathon and take the first ever world half marathon title.
Well, certainly Unarotto is paying for chasing Liz McColgan. She found those 2 miles between 10 and 12 very, very difficult.
And Munarotto has just been overtaken and hanging on in third place now. And when it goes in a half marathon, it tends to go completely, and it's really a case of just keep working. You've got to get yourself to the next lamppost, and then you've got to psychologically boost yourself just to keep going. And it's very, very hard at this stage of a half marathon, but she's competitive. She's not settling for third, and I think that's essential. You can see her grabbing her side, probably a bit of stitch there, but Liz McColgan looks to be enjoying this. She's working hard, but she works hard all the time. She trains very, very hard. Maybe overtrained in her preparation for the Olympic Games, because she was so determined to win that. But there aren't many athletes who can have a disappointing year and end up as a world champion.
Well, the course record here is held by the great Grete Waitz of Norway, set in 1988, 68 minutes 49, and she's well in touch with that. Looking down the front from our commentary position, we can see the headlights of the leading police car and the timing car just behind that. Well within sight of the finish. Well, Liz McColgan may have had a disappointing season by her standards, but it's going to be finishing in glory. She's having to work now, but there's so much encouragement.
Well, there are only two British women who've ever won world titles. One was Fatima Whitbread in the javelin in '87 in the World Championships in Rome. The other one was Liz McColgan herself in the World Championships in Tokyo, where she won the 10,000 meters. So she joins an exclusive club of two, and she's already a member of that club, on her way to a very, very good victory. And it's good to see Liz back in form. We were disappointed with her, but she was very disappointed with herself in the Olympic Games. And she's bounced back very quickly, which just shows what a resilient athlete she is, what a tough athlete she is. And she goes off to Tokyo in a few weeks' time to run a marathon, which I'm sure she'll be impressive in. But I think all her spirits will be lifted by knowing that she's back running as well as she has done.
Running right alongside the crowd, saving every inch on the road. Liz McColgan, now 28. And actually the spectators getting so excited, they're pushing the barriers forward a little bit. Well, this is a tremendous run by Liz McColgan. Back to her very best. Tremendous applause. What a welcome for this young Scottish mother, who's now well within sight of the finish. May just be very close to the course record, but it's going to be very close indeed. Grete Waitz's course record, 68.49. Just turns now, and she's got about 25 yards to go. And Liz McColgan now sees the finishing line to become the first ever half-marathon champion of the world. The time just outside the course record. That doesn't matter. She did what she had to do and did it well.
She did it extremely well. And in second place, Fujiwara of Japan, who's run very well in the last couple of miles, and Munerato has been hanging on there, not quite doing enough. So the Japanese comes home in second place, and she'll be pleased with that particular performance. That's the best she's ever done at the world level.
Munerato, who's had a desperate time in the last 2.5, 3 miles, but kept it together, takes the bronze medal for Italy. Fourth, fifth and sixth are now in sight, and it's going to be close. Hema. Looks like. Also there is Roba, I think, and the Romanian. Katuna, looking very strong in the blue of Romania. Asahina will become the second Japanese home. But it's Katuna now who finishes in 4th place for Romania. Asahina of Japan is 5th, and Roba, Ethiopia, 6th. So Japan with 2 in the first 6, waiting for their third counter, and this is the next one, number 96, Asai. 62 just behind her is Schubek of Germany. But Japan with 3 in 7 on the aggregate time surely must win the title. Schubek in Germany in 8th place. Andrea Wallace is going to be the second Briton to finish. She's alongside the Finn, Tikkanen. Wallace has stayed with this well because she had a bad time in the middle of the race, and she sprints in to get an extra place for Britain. So Britain now to win 10 or 11.
And what you were saying earlier, David, if Jill Hunter had been running, then the Britons would have given the Japanese a bit of a run for their money. But I think the Japanese finished with a strong team. Number 157, Block of the USA, finishing well there. But what a performance from Liz McColgan, and what a team performance from the Japanese. Looking further down the field, De Ruyck is just finishing now. The South African athlete, the first South African, and we expected them to figure highly. And number 55 just finishing there, the French girl, Clovel of France, and another Romanian. The Romanians have done well. Number 129, Bua of Romania, she's finished well. So the Romanians have finished a team. The Britons haven't quite finished a team yet, but the Japanese were dominant. Number 154, another American, Busser of the USA. And the first Norwegian athlete there, number 112, Bent Moyer. Well, she's been around for a long time and finished well today.
113 just going through is Stavik of Norway. And it looks like we might have seen the third Briton there. It looks like Susan Rigg. '69. Susan Rigg goes through. And Marion Sutton's inside as well, just finishing but not counting for Britain. There's no doubt, I think at all, that the Japanese have won the team race. But Panfil, the world champion there in the marathon, has just come through. Well, now, with Japan almost certainly having won the team race in the women's first World Half Marathon Championship, and Liz McColgan, the new Half Marathon champion of the world, we can go back to the men's race. We last saw the Tanzanian leader. And the men have gone through 10 miles, 45 minutes, 45 seconds. So, and we got the new leader, and it's last year's winner, Benson Masher. The Tanzanian obviously made his effort too soon. The Kenyans waited, had the confidence to wait.
Well, I didn't think he had a choice about waiting because they were going so fast earlier. But 45 minutes, 45 seconds for 10 miles. That's an incredible 10-mile time, and he's still got 3 miles to go. And as I said, he told us yesterday he was going to win this race. He came to win it. He won it last year. And still, if he keeps this pace going, then it could be the first ever legitimate sub-60-minute half marathon. And that's an unbelievable run. Benson Masher looking strong, looking comfortable. Maybe he had enough about him to let the Tanzanian go. But I don't think this race is all over because there's an awful lot going to happen in the last 3 miles. Looking further down the road, Akune is falling back for second place, and Benson Masher, he knows this course well. This is the scene of his only really significant international victory when he did it last year, but this time it's the World Championships, And he said yesterday he wanted to be a world champion. He's always wanted to be a world champion, and he felt this race gave him his best opportunity. Looking behind Benson Masha into second place, Boa Akune. Tanzania in second place. Just trying to track that. We can see the leader there being escorted by the police. And then looking further down the field, well, it's not an enormous gap, but it is a significant one. It's still Akune of Tanzania in second place, number 177, but he's being closed down very quickly by the two scoring members of the Kenyan team.
We've got a Oguto 108, 109 is Kano, Joseph Kano, the policeman. Then Turgat, another Kenyan, non-counting in the team. And Silio, the Argentinian. He's had a good race too. He's been running well on the track without actually winning anything in the European circuit. But this, I think, is his first effort at a longer distance. And he's looked quite impressive.
And Lemek Oguta is making a real move to get away from that group and start to chase Benson Masha. We're looking at the split times. There have been some strange split times, but that 45 through 10 miles was the most significant one for me. The last mile, well, that's a climbing mile from 10 to 11 miles, and Benson Masha has gone through 11 miles in 50 minutes and 37 seconds. So that 10th to 11th mile was a slower one, but it's not surprising when you think the pace is going up. Akune, he needs to try and just concentrate. The group are going to catch him, and he needs to try and concentrate and hang on to the back of the group. Silio of Argentina is running a very good race, moving into third place there.
I'm just checking on his background. He's the South American record holder at 5,000 metres and 10,000 metres. And Silio was also, we've now tracked a half marathon he's run 63.50. He was 18th in the Olympic Games 10,000 metres recently.
Well, he's got the track pedigree. He's obviously got the speed from a shorter distance, and now as he moves gradually, through the field, he's looking quite strong. And the Kenyans have been racing it out, and I think a more conservative approach to this race may actually have some benefits in the later stages. And look how quickly he's opened up that gap, and how quickly he's chasing Akune, who's in second place. And as the bike pans down the road, we can see Akune is not going as strongly as he was earlier, but some of the early splits were quite ridiculous, really.
And I'd say as well, Brendan, that the Kenyans aren't used to being treated like this.
Well, the Kenyans weren't expecting anyone to try and run away from them, and when Akune did, they couldn't do anything about it. Or they chose not to do anything about it, but I think that they didn't do anything about it because they really just couldn't stay with him. And Silio running well now, starting to feel Akune as possible. Once he gets alongside Akune at this stage of the race, he's got to go straight past him. They're into the 12th mile now. And then they look ahead, they'll see the seafront, and they'll know that it's just a left turn along the seafront and an awfully long last mile. But we've been watching Silio over the years, and he's never done anything really significant internationally, but he's been learning and he's been getting stronger. And watch him as he goes alongside Akune. He glances over his shoulder, Akune glances over his shoulder, and now there's no point in waiting there. The best thing to do is to get past him as fast as you possibly can and try and get him behind you. Moves out. Keeps his head down. Don't look across, because then he'll think there's a weakness in you, and just move alongside and move past as quickly as possible, because Akune will probably be suffering for those erratic miles earlier, and if you give him a long enough of a chance, he might respond to it.
Although it's unlikely that this stretch of the race will affect the winner too much. He seems to have got too much of an advantage, any more than it did affect McElgan. It could affect the minor places quite a bit, because between the 10th and 12th miles, quite a number of changes can take place.
Well, Benson Masha, last year's champion, looking over his shoulder and seeing he's got a great chance of repeating his victory of last year. He comes round the roundabout, and now he's got a big lead. Comes round that roundabout, down the Sevilla incline, and then he's got just over a mile to go to the finish. Second place now, Silio, the Argentinian. Well, bit of a surprise. Second place, we knew he was good, but we didn't think he was this good. And Akune is now suffering. Down this hill, it's really a case, don't let it jar your legs too much, because the last mile can be very, very tough. But Benson Masher, well, he speaks confidently about this race. He certainly was speaking confidently about it yesterday. And we saw the rest of the field, and we didn't think that it was going to be as easy as it seems to have been for Benson Masher. And Silio down the hill, round the corner, and now 12 miles. Benson Masher ran 4:39 for the last mile, for 11 to 12 miles, so he's obviously running strongly. 55 minutes and 16 seconds at 12 miles from Benson Masher. And he'll realise that there's a great time on for him.
Actually there is, just check on that. He could run inside 60.5 minutes. But of course he's still got this long mile to go down the front. And it seems to stretch along forever. Benson Masher having a look back. And actually they're closing a little bit, Silio and Akune, because of the fact they're racing each other, are gradually whittling down the gap. It's closed quite significantly.
Well, Benson Masher is certainly aware of them. I don't know if he's aware of how fast they're coming up behind him. Akune is having a resurgence, and Silio's finishing by far the strongest. Well, his 10,000 meter pedigree may come in useful here, and Benson Masher's looked over his shoulder a few more times than he needed to if he was in complete control. We're looking sideways on now, and we see that gap. It's still a very winnable lead for Benson Masher, but he keeps glancing over his shoulder. He's maybe hurting a little more than we thought he was, and I don't think he'll have a time on his mind now. At the early stages of the race, they looked as though they could run well under 60 minutes for the half marathon. I don't think that's possible now. I think they're paying the price of those middle miles. But Benson Masher won't care about that. And in second place, Silio of Argentina is looking strong. He's getting stronger as this race is going along, and he's getting good support. I think the people around here will recognize the blue and white stripes, certainly not from the athletic track, but from the football team. The Argentinian football team are well known in this part of the world.
Actually, Silio is not based in Argentina. In fact, he lives in Madrid, although he is wearing their national colours there. Benson Masher doesn't look as easy as he did. He realises that they're closing. And certainly Silio looks the strongest man in the leading group at the moment.
Well, they've got about half a mile to go, and I wonder if Silio realises how far it is from the finish. It's going to need a track-type finish for him to catch Benson Masher, but that's maybe possible. Benson Masher's looked over his shoulder, and I'm not sure he's seen that there is a threat coming from behind. He looked over his shoulder, and I'm sure he turned back too quickly before he realised that Silio was approaching fast. And the lead car is obscuring Benson Masher from us, and we're looking at Antonio Silio of Argentina, the best race he's ever run internationally, and he'll really be pleased with his performance. And really, if he runs like a track runner in the next 600 meters, then he could really threaten Benson Masher.
Fair amount of traffic around. The women's race was directed along the inside here. The men are being directed further, a little bit wider. The leader's got the finish well inside now, but Silio's got the leader inside, very much so. And clearly the anxiety is showing. Masher looking back more and more, but he can take comfort that he hasn't got very far to go. He's slowed quite a little bit in this last mile. Akune is still in third place, but he's being caught. And he's hung in there well. And by the way, the Kenyan team selection, they seem to have got it right, because the two non-scoring Kenyans in the red are not in the first three Kenyans. And Masha is going to win this. He's not going to be caught. He's relaxing now, and he'll turn in a moment to the finish to become the first ever men's World Half Marathon champion. Another great victory for the Kenyans. 60 minutes, 23 seconds. That is a new course record of one of the fastest times in history. In second place, Silio with another very fast time indeed. Brilliant run by him. In third place, Akuna of Tanzania. Silio delighted with that silver medal, and there the bronze to Akuna. Now we're looking at fourth place. Aguta it is in fourth place. He's the second Kenyan home. And Turgat, the non-counter, is just past Kano, who will count for them. And we've got the first Briton in sight. It's a very good run by Dave Lewis. Dave Lewis in about 9th place. Good run by him. Castro just behind him. And here's Paul Evans, the next Briton in, following 107, who's in DT, another of these Kenyans, but he doesn't score, although he's in the team. And Paul Evans is next. Paul Evans is about 11th place. Now we got the first South African inside. 158, Yawa, one of the most experienced runners. And Panetta of Italy just finishing as well. And Norwood of Australia just behind him. And Carl Thackeray through in about 15th, 16th place. So we've got all three counting Britons in. So there may be a chance of a team place medal, Brendan.
And now they're finishing thick and fast. And there were good performances by the British athletes. An outstanding performance by Benson Masha. And there's Mark Flint, who we told earlier, he runs all his good races in the Great North Run. Coming up, number 72 there, finishing now in 1 hour and 2 minutes and 26 seconds. That's a good performance. And then Steve Brace coming around the corner now, battling it out, running very well. Just under 1 hour 3. He said he'd run that sort of time, and that's a good performance by Steve Brace.
Actually, all 5 of the Britons have done really well. I mean, these are fast times. Two more of the South Africans together there. 154 is Bogotsi, and then Tukwani, 157. Stan Greenberg, our statistician, has just been pointing out, providing the course when it's remeasured is found to be accurate, that could be a new world best performance, Brendan. It was when Monegatti set it on this course, but it was, the rule was changed afterwards, wasn't it?
Well, it's a legitimate course, and that's the fastest 60:23 by Benson Masha, is the fastest legitimate time that we've seen in a half marathon. We thought at one point that we might see the first sub-60-minute marathon. Well, it didn't quite happen like that, but that was a great performance by Benson Masha, and a good performance by the Kenyan team. We expect them of that. We expect the selectors, they picked a great Kenyan team, and the British team have done very well. And we have to work out the results because there are cumulative times that produce the team results. It's quite a difficult thing to work out, but I think the British team will certainly be in the first 3 or 4.
Well, I must say the IAAF paid a great tribute to the Great North Run and its organisers to bring the first half marathon world championship to this course, and it's paid off because it really has been a tremendous race, both the women's and the men's, and shows the quality too of the course.
Well, there's a local welcome for the IAAF family from the borough of South Tyneside, who actually organised this finish particularly well. Alan Wilson, the finish director, he's looking now at the results and he's having a good look, because in a few minutes' time he'll see an avalanche of runners along the seafront. We can start to sense that they're gathering now. The crowds are beginning to mill around, and there's Steve Cram finishing, and we're looking at his time, 65 minutes and 27 seconds, and he's getting a great support. That's an outstanding time for a miler.
I must say, from Steve's point of view, that's 2 minutes faster than he ran in 1981 when he ran the first ever one. He's probably found his right distance.
Well, then if you look down the field, he's beaten quite a few of the international teams runners. And, you know, he said earlier with a glint in his eye that he wasn't going to run too hard today, but I bet that's hurt him a little bit. But that's a really good sign. He's been training for a longer distance, and I'm looking forward to seeing him run a 5,000 metres next year, because I've always felt Steve is a good distance runner.
I must say, he must be well satisfied with that. Well, seafront lined with the elite runners still finishing, but meanwhile that's back at feeding station number 2 at around 6 miles, and thousands still strung along the road. Brendan, what's the longest time it's taken to ever run this Great North Run and half marathon?
We once had someone take 8 hours, and that's, you know, for 30 miles, that's quite difficult. But all the finishing system was closed down, and someone went here with a medal and a t-shirt, and he was quite pleased to get it in his t-shirt. But they're halfway, and they've taken, well, about an hour and 5 minutes for 6 miles, so they're going to run a reasonable time. They're going to be here in 2.5 hours. They're probably slow in the later stages, but there's more to come. They're queuing up for their drinks there. There's no point in going past the feed stations and the drink stations and not taking something on board. Well, I've just seen Ray Smedley, who was my teammate, ran in the Olympic Games with me in 1972 in the 1500 metres, finish in 67 minutes. Well, I wish I could run 67 minutes.
What a family festival this is. Considering this is half the distance of the London Marathon, I think as many people actually watch along the course as in the London Marathon.
Well, you can see they're lined deep along the finish. Almost all of Tyneside turns out in one shape or other for this event. We have about 3,000 volunteers who help us. They're army people, they're police, they're Red Cross, St John's Ambulance. Without all their support and help, the scouts, the local athletic clubs, without their help this couldn't happen. And there's the first man in a fluorescent yellow hat finishing. And now, coming along the seafront on their masses, some of the wheelchair athletes are still finishing, and it's been a hard road for them too. And now the runners are starting to finish. These are respectable times. There's the local race doctor, Adam Cooper, from Gateshead Harriers, suffering a little today, and but he's run well. These are good times, 1 hour and 8 minutes. It'll be about 40 minutes before the seafront sees its busiest point. And just thinking about the men's race, Benson Masher came here to tell us that he was going to win it, and he won it. Liz McColgan didn't quite tell us she was going to win it, but we were delighted to see her perform as she did. 1 hour, 9 minutes and 16 seconds for these men. This is good class distance running. These are club runners and county runners from all around the country. Fraser Klein finishing here now, 69 minutes and 30 seconds, former international marathon runner. Anything under 70 minutes for a half marathon is outstanding. And when they come down the finish, they see the clock, and they're more interested in that particular time than they are in anything else. Number 349 just coming around there. He's run a very good race. I thought I recognised the club vest. Bernard Gaffney there of Coventry. Massey Ferguson club.
Just to recap on the actual results, Liz McColgan, the winner in 68.51 of the first Women's World Half Marathon Championship. Fujiwara, Japan, in second place. Munarotto of Italy in third place. We think, this is unofficial, that the Japanese have won the team race. And actually, we've now got the official results. They've come through very quickly. Japan have won the gold medal in the team race in the women's event, as we suspected. Romania take the silver medal, and Great Britain finish in third place with the bronze. They're scoring 3. Liz McColgan, who won the race. Andrea Wallace, who finished in 12th place. And Suzanne Rigg, who was 30th. In 37th place was Marion Sutton. Can confirm that on the screen. 1, 2, 3. Liz McColgan, 68 minutes 51 seconds. Very fast. Just outside her personal best. Fujiwara of Japan, 61.10. Oh, that should be 71.10. I think there's a slight mistake in that. And I think Munarotto might be slightly over 72 minutes. Certainly the winning time for Liz McColgan was correct there, but I think you better have reservations about the other two, obviously. Just to reinforce the women's team result, Japan the winners, Romania second, Great Britain in third place, and this is provisional, by the way. United States finished 4th, Italy 5, and the unified team in 6th place. But these are provisional results. Still the club runners coming home in quite respectable times. And meantime, we can have a look now at the finish of the wheelchair event. The leader, David Holding, who won this race last year. David Holding, clearly on the way to his second successive victory. Comes from Kettering. Competed in the Paralympics, and a very good winner indeed. His time, 50 minutes, 21 seconds. In second place, we've got Ivan Newman. Comes from Essex. He was second a year ago, so we've got the same result as 12 months ago in first and second places. Quite a battle here for third place between Robert Thompson and Christopher Madden. And Robert Thompson finishes in third place. That's the wheelchair result. Robert Ian Thompson in third place, comes from Redcar. And look at those times, 50.21 for the winner, 51.26 and 53.35. Well, now the women's 1, 2, 3, we'll have that as well again in a moment in the women's wheelchair race. And in fact, it was a very, very, very fast time by the winner, Tanny Gray from Cardiff, who she said she hoped she might do when she was interviewed before the start. Got inside the minute. She did 59 minutes and 20 seconds. That's Tanny Gray, who won 4 gold medals at the Barcelona Paralympics. In second place, Rose Hill, who was also second to her last year. Comes from Milton Keynes. And in third place, Tracy Lewis from London, also competed in the Paralympics in Barcelona. The times for Tanny Gray confirmed at 59.20, and it was very, very close indeed. Rose Hill just a second behind, 59.21, and Tracy Lewis third, 61.04.
And now we're seeing them coming in 1 hour 15 minutes, and when you think about it, that's each mile in about 5 minutes and 40 seconds. So miles under 6-minute mile pace, very, very good running, and 1 hour 15 minutes for a half marathon. And the numbers that are finishing in these times continually improving. The standard for the event, the finishing times are getting faster, and really that's just an impressive performance overall. And when you think about how many people have run half marathons and marathons in recent years, well, you've got to be pleased about that.
Well, I've now been checking on this provisional team result in the women's race, and I'm afraid what they've done is to add their placings together and not their times. So these are very much provisional. Japan given as the leader, as the winners, which we think is right anyway. Romania given in second place, and Great Britain in third. But it's the combined times of the first three home and not the placings. And it seems to me they've put the placings together, although in fact, in the end, it may not have changed the result. But still, when they put provisional on this one, they meant it.
Let's just keep our fingers crossed that it was a British bronze medal performance, because there were a couple of good runs there. Very, very good run from Liz McColgan, and a good run from Andrea Wallace in 12th place. I was pleased to see Andrea coming back, because she was so disappointed at the Olympic Games, and it's nice to see her back and running very well internationally.
Just to confirm the result of the women's wheelchair race, Tanny Gray, fresh from 4 gold medals in Barcelona, wins again. This is her third successive win, only 22 from Cardiff. Time inside the hour as she wanted it, 59.20. Rose Hill just a second behind, 59.21, and Tracy Lewis in third place, 61.04. Confirmation again of the women's results in the correct times this time. Liz McColgan's time was correct at 68.51, but the other two were wrong. Fujiwara, that's right now, 69 minutes and 10 seconds. Munarotto of Italy in third place at 69.38. Well, that was a fantastic run by Liz McColgan, and she looked for the first time to me this season like the Liz McColgan of previous seasons. That heaviness in her legs that was so evident in the 10,000 metres in the Olympic final was disappeared. She was moving easily all the time. She looked wonderfully composed and concentrated. And the new half marathon champion of the world, Liz McColgan, is talking now to Paul Dickinson.
Liz, a tremendous achievement, a great return to form as well. When you started the race, did you want to dictate the pace so early?
Well, really at the start of the week I was determined that I was just going to go out and blast it, but Peter's been trying to talk to me all week saying, you know, you've got to learn to race with the girls, you know, it's not all about you pacing all the time. So this morning night we just decided that I'd just sit into about 11.5 miles, so I got a little bit eager, I went a little bit early, but I felt really good throughout the race, and it was very hard for me to contain myself and hold myself back. So I'm really pleased with the way things went, and spectators were great all over the course, really encouraging you, and I think that all helped to a good performance for me on the day.
What about pace judgment? Because you threw in a couple of very fast miles. Was that deliberate?
To be honest, I wasn't aware of really picking it up that much. I honestly thought that I was just striding out and that the girls dropped. I believe I ran like a 5:01 or something, you know, 9th mile or something off a hill, which was quite good. But in saying that, I really wasn't aware. You know, all I was caring about is winning the race, and you know, I just felt really good throughout the race, and you know, all things worked out really well.
Well, because of Barcelona, I don't want to harp on about that too much, but your confidence must have taken a bit of a dent. How have you recovered from that?
Well, really, you know, when I ran so bad in Barcelona, obviously I felt very, you know, I was really upset and whatever, and the confidence was very low. But in saying that, I found out that there was a problem, there was a reason for the bad performance, and really I ran that race ill, with an illness. very low iron, and you know, there was nothing I can do about it. I've went and I've had treatment over the past 3 weeks, and you know, nothing's changed, only the simple fact that I've put more iron into my body and I'm back on form. So I think that even Barcelona, it was a fairly good performance for the illness that I had and the level of iron that I had in my body. Not very many people could have actually put a performance in like that with the problems that I had. So you know, I'm just really pleased that I found out what was wrong. Obviously, I'll make sure it never happens again, and I'm going to give myself a little bit more self-respect and listen to my body and take care of myself a little bit more.
Well, I think there's a lot of people who respect you for what you've done today, and you've got a bonus as well, I think, because unofficially, the British team won the bronze medal for the team race.
Oh, that's really good, because I mean, I really feel that we would have won it easily if Jill had won, and it was really a bit disappointing when Jill turned up and she had, you know, knee problems and whatever. I felt really sorry for her, but it really put a downer on the team spirit, because I really feel the gold was ours. You know, it was just a matter of lining up and the gold was ours. But that's great. It's great for the other girls, you know, to get a bronze medal in the World Championships. That's tremendous. Just goes to show the depth of running in women's distance running in Britain. It's great.
And you're the world champion. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Actually, we should say double world champion, the world 10,000 metres champion as well.
Well, that's right. You can see her. She's back to her best. She's bubbly again, and she's really pleased with that run, because when as a distance runner you suddenly get a couple of bad performances, you begin to think, has my ability disappeared? Now I think Liz has found out that her ability hasn't disappeared. She did run a little bit too hard, train a bit too hard, run herself low in iron levels, which is the essential part of your oxygen transporting system in your body, and that's why she was getting short of breath. And now that she's managed to replace the iron, boosted the iron up to new levels, and I think we saw a different Liz McColgan today. She's got a marathon in a few weeks' time. Let's hope she can put a good performance in there, but then after that she's promised herself a month's rest, and I think looking forward to the World Championships in Stuttgart next year, maybe she could add another title there.
I'll spot one or two of these runners for you. On treble 6, Mark Wilkie from Sedgefield. 1368 just going through is Simon Walker, Roundtree Athletic Club. 1603, Philip Woodman, Wayne Groves, Ripley Rugby Club. 1393, Lee Richardson, Ilford. And by the way, as these runners go through, we can go back down the course, I think to about the 10-mile mark, and here's a familiar face, very familiar face indeed, in an unfamiliar role.
Steve Redgrave, three-time Olympic champion. You've had a break since Barcelona. A half marathon must be a bit of a shock to the system.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shock when it's... I decided that my training would start again on Tuesday. I've done 2 or 3, maybe 4 runs for this, and I'm feeling a bit hard now. But as they say, there's no pain, there's no gain, and Atlanta starts now.
Atlanta 96, I suspect you'll be sticking to events on water though, won't you?
That's right. Well, I don't think I'm going to win any marathon, that's for sure. But I'm looking forward to it. It's starting to get back. I'm getting my 4th win now, so I'm looking forward to the last couple of miles.
You hope for about 1 hour 20, a bit behind. We've kept you up, I know, so
it's
carry
more
on.
of, I was looking for more of 1 hour 30, but I'm still going to be behind that. It's my first half marathon, and I'm enjoying it.
Keep going. Thanks for chatting, Steve.
No problem.
Bye.
Thanks.
I wonder how many of the thousands surrounding Steve Ray recognise they've got the privilege of running alongside a 3 times Olympic medalist, gold medalist too.
Well, that's right. He's our most successful Olympic competitor ever, isn't he? 3 consecutive gold medals, and he was 1 hour 16 there, so he's not going to be far off his schedule. But he's. I was interested to hear him say that Atlanta starts on Tuesday, 4 years from now, and he's already thinking about it. He'd take a rest after the Olympic Games, and he knows about taking rest, and then he's on his way back. He's obviously committed to a 4th gold medal attempt in 4 years' time, and he's obviously enjoying himself here.
762, William Glasgow going through from Clarkston. 255 you might spot there. 2559 David Cook from North Fylde in Lancashire. 1025 just gone through, Ian Strong from Victoria. Blade. 5014 Patrick Hughes from Heaton. And here are the happy men in the finishing funnel. 1334 Matthew Todd from Leeds City. On to the women athletes also there. What a sight this is. The sea front. absolutely packed. Now we've got some news again. It's provisional about the women's team result. The first run, as I suspected, was wrong because they didn't add up the aggregate times. But the news for Great Britain is good, but still unofficial. Japan appear to have taken the gold medal in the World Team Championship with an aggregate time of 3 minutes 30 and about 39 seconds. Great Britain in second place, 3:33.04, and Romania third, 3:33.27. Now, I must stress, these are aggregate times that we've worked out, and I've just had it on the headphone that that is now confirmed. So not just a gold medal for Liz McColgan in the Women's Half Marathon Championship, but a silver medal now confirmed for Great Britain's women. Japan the winners. Great Britain in second place, and in third place, Romania. Well, now we can have a look back at the scene miles back down the road. Let's go tracking back. That's the road down to the seafront.
And there we are going through South Shields of the leisure centre on the left-hand side. In amongst the trees you can see the masses, and as we go further down the field you can see the numbers are increasing. And that spiral now lasts from here way back at least 6 or 7 miles. They're still coming, and they'll be noticing the helicopter flying over their head. They're well on their way though. They've got about 3 miles to go at that point. They're going either side of the roundabout. And you can see the concentration of runners is increasing as we go back. That's a welcome roundabout at the end of the John Reed Road, which is quite a difficult run. Well, the traffic on the left-hand side of the road coming up to 10 miles. There's the field hospital on the left-hand side, and the co-op vans that are handing out the drinks. Oh, and the road's really crowded there.
It's astonishing when you look at the numbers out there, way back in the distance, and you look ahead down the seafront, some miles ahead, and they're absolutely shoulder to shoulder as well. Well, I've got some more news now of the men's race, the 1, 2, 3 you know. Benson Messiah, or Masha, who lives in Britain. 60 minutes 24. Unofficially, that's the fastest half marathon ever recorded. Cilio, Argentina, in second place. 60 minutes 40 seconds, that's very fast as well. And Akune in third, Tanzania, 60 minutes 45. Now the Britons, they run well. David Lewis was the first one home in 7th place, 61.17. Paul Evans was the second British counter. He finished 11th, 61.38. And Carl Thackeray was the third scorer and finisher from Hallamshire. He finished in 17th place. Just an outside chance of Britain being in the medals. We believe the Kenyan men have won the team event, though. And by the way, the scoring members of the British silver medal winning team in the women's result, Liz McColgan the winner, Andrea Wallace in 12th place, Susan Rigg 30th. And their aggregate time took them into second place. Well, we've got a face you might find familiar. Perhaps not as Sammy Johnson, but as Stick in Spender. He's with Hazel Irwin.
Ready? Okay. Stick from Spender, alias Sammy Johnson. I know Stick's always running into trouble. I didn't know he was fit enough to run away from it. How long have you been running?
About 10 years. I do it every year. It's great. Get out your chairs and do it. It's wonderful.
Nothing could persuade you to make Jimmy Nail put on his running shoes, could it?
Oh, you hurt his leg. He fell off his bike. No, he said he might have.
After 9 miles, how are you feeling?
Great. Yeah, fine. I mean, I wish I was at the end.
Okay, well, we won't hold you up. I know you're going for about 2 hours, isn't it?
Yeah, 1:45, 2 hours, yeah.
Briefly, when's the next series of Spender back?
January.
Excellent, we look forward to it. Great.
Yeah.
Stick, keep going, Mr. Johnson.
So Hazel Evans working out quite well there. How you found a celebrity among all that lot, I don't know.
I think it's because he had the sunglasses on. All the celebrities running in sunglasses.
Spot 1 or 2 numbers for you again. 4573 is David Roberts, Hugh Toxeter. 4423, John Burns of Aldridge in Walsall. 2811, Roger Richardson. 2334, Gilbert Wright from Pontyland. Stephen Ward is 4256 from Muddyford. Graham Taylor, 2241, not the Graham Taylor though. 6728 is Richard Cole from Morpeth, member of the Blythe Running Club. 3189, James Johnson. David Whitehead, 887 from Kendal. Right, well, we've heard of the new world women's half marathon champion. Here's the men's champion now, Benson Masher, who's won the Great North Run for the 2nd time in succession. The Kenyan who lives in Stockport nowadays, most of his time, I think. In fact, he's won it for the 2nd time in succession. But having said that, much more important this time, the fastest, and this is unofficial, time we believe ever run for a half marathon. And of course, with it, the world title. He's talking to Paul Dickinson.
Benson, you know the course well. What were you thinking when you came into the race today in terms of tactics?
I knew when I come there, the race today in the morning, the squad which was there, they were very good learners, and I knew the Kenyans were one of them. So I knew there was to be produced a new tactics of racing, and I knew the Kenyans had it. So when we reached about 6 miles, the tactics started and the Kenyans were in front. So I decided to remain behind a little bit, and then when the guys are tired, I went away.
Did you realise halfway through the race, or at any time in the race really, that the time was going to be so fast, in fact a world record?
Yeah, I knew because I had calculated the world record pace, and I knew if I passed in under 46, 16, 10 miles, I knew I was to beat it. So I think I passed 10 miles in 45 something. So I knew it was very fast, and I knew I was to do it.
What about your teammates? Unofficially, Kenya have won the team race. You're the world champion. You've broken the world record. It's been a fantastic day.
Yeah, I'm very happy, and even my colleagues, I think they are very happy too.
You ran very well in Swansea last week. That was a very fast 10-kilometre. Now the half marathon world champion. What's next?
I'm not sure where I'm racing next because my agent hasn't told me. So I hope he's going to find another race for me next week or next week but one.
And you're smiling about today?
Yeah, I'm very happy, thanks.
Well done, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Should be happy too. I don't think there's any doubt at all, Brandon, the Kenyans won the team event. Just looking at them, they had the first, fourth and sixth of their counting men. They also had an individual running and finished 5th as Paul Turger.
Well, that's the second feed station at the Whitemare Pool, and they've got 7 miles to go, and they're settling down to a steady walk now in groups. And at the finish, the masses are coming here now. They've been running for 1 hour and 33 minutes, and if you look at the numbers who are running close to 1 hour and a half for a half marathon, well, it's outstanding running by any standard. And there are many women running 1.5 hours, which is really improved in this particular event over the last few years. And this is the one. This is the one to do it in. This is the one where they train all year for, and then they get their best times, and they don't run other races. They come back again next year and improve a little. Maybe they should start running other races, because there's plenty of races in the north of England, and there are plenty of distances short of a half marathon.
Incidentally, I can just give you some news, but again with caution. But Stan Greenberg, our statistician, is ahead of the IAAF computers here. He believes Great Britain's men have finished in 2nd place behind the Kenyans in the World Team Championship. The scoring members in that case would be David Lewis, Paul Evans and Carl Thackeray. I must stress that's unofficial, but Stanley's usually right. The Kenyans, of course, the clear winners of the team championship. 3:37 just through. Bernard Scrantz of St. Lucia, Malta. I say, Brandon, when you're running shoulder to shoulder for 13 miles like this, it must be getting a bit claustrophobic.
Yeah, it must be terrible not to be able to get a bit of space and a bit of freedom there. But they've been going now an hour and 35 minutes, and they're just approaching the peak time. And in the peak time, the Finnish director, Alan Wilson, tells me that over 350 people per minute finish, and they've got all 8 finishing systems going. And they're well rehearsed at this. They've been practicing this, and they've done this for 12 years, and it seems to work pretty well because the finish times get mailed out in a couple of weeks' time. The computer deals with all of that. It's quite a complicated job, but eventually they all get their corrected times. But you notice they don't really trust the computer system because most of them have got their running watches, including their cartwheel just towards the finish. That was the roar from the crowd. A little bit of entertainment. He'll be happy with that run. 1 hour and 36 minutes.
It's a good point you make about the watches, though, of course, Brendan, because they do start some 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes after the gun goes. So they're taking no notice at all of the official clock up there. They've got their official clocks on board.
And nobody can argue with their official clocks because they can tell you exactly what they did. And if they stop for a drink, they may even stop their watch and start it again. And now it's rather busy along the seafront in South Shields.
Incredible shot. And when you say they're reaching peak period, that underlines it.
We talk about fun runners, but they're quite serious application there. There's a fun when you're standing around at the start, and there'll be lots of fun later on as South Shields fills up. But the last mile along the seafront, they all tell us that they're sure it's more than a mile, but it's a measured mile. Some of them say it's 3 miles. It just feels like 3 miles because it's the last one.
Again, we can pick up 1 or 2 numbers for you. 1792, Richard Fetters from Kings Lynn. Simon Wilding, 9338. Beth Billy, 2340, John Beadnell. 5847, Ian Elliott of South Shields. Well, the computers have not actually caught up with our statistician yet, but we do believe that Great Britain finished in 2nd place in the men's World Team Championship behind the Kenyans. It's not confirmed, but it looks fairly certain. And here now is one of the counters, Carl Thackeray.
Carl, of course, we'll have to wait to find out what the exact result is of the team, but as far as your own run is concerned, you knew you were in good shape coming into the race. You're a bit frustrated by the result?
Yeah, I'm very disappointed, obviously. I mean, all right, I'm pleased that I managed to get back from glandular fever, you know, but if I'd initially not gone off that first 3 miles with Benson, I know I would have I'd have been in the top 6 and got a personal best. So I'm very disappointed in that I went off with his surges, you know. I mean, Benson ran phenomenally. I mean, he ran the world best, and good luck to the guy, but I'm just disappointed in the way I ran the first 3 miles. You know, after 3 miles I was really tired, you know, and it was like I was struggling to get back to the second group. I mean, when I did get back to the, you know, well, I was closing from about 11 miles, but it was still hard work, you know. It was, what can I say?
When somebody sets off at a fast pace like that, what goes through your mind when it's so early in the race?
Well, what goes through your mind is pain, you know. I mean, it's as simple as that. Especially when the Kenyans do them surges, you know, because they like run as if they're running, you know, speed intervals. They'll put in a surge, and then you've got to try and cover it. But when you cover it, you know, you go through the pain barrier. And I think most Europeans just can't handle that way of running. I mean, it's just in their nature, you know. They're born at the high altitude, so they've got so much energy in store. You know, it's just, you just can't run the way they run. I mean, you've just got to. The best way to run it is conservatively, and I obviously just tried my best to keep with the guys, and it didn't pay off. And the Europeans, obviously, they did run conservatively, like Dave Lewis. You've got to respect the guy. He ran a sensible race, same as Paul Evans. You know, they ran conservatively, and then they came through, and good luck to them.
Well, good luck to you as well, because you are returning to form. It's great to see you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Well, now the men's team result again. This is still not confirmed beyond doubt, but we believe it to be accurate. The Kenyans, clearly the winners. 3 aggregate times, 3 hours, 2 minutes, 25. And Great Britain, we believe, have taken the silver medal, 3 hours, 3 minutes, 54. Their scorers, David Lewis in 7th place. He ran 61.17. Paul Evans in 11th place from Belgrave, 61.38. And Carl Thackeray from Hallamshire in 17th place, 61.59. That is still to be confirmed, but we believe the result is being held because it's very close to 3rd place between Japan and Spain. And that's the reason the IAAF computers will not push out a confirmed result. Well, this has been a day to remember. A British win by Liz McColgan in the first ever Women's World Half Marathon, and it looks like medals for both the British men's and women's team in the team events. Familiar figure there going through, playing his clarinet from Stoke. But, you know, the Great North Run really started yesterday. This has been a great running festival weekend with the junior fun run. And today, of course, we've not only had the world's elite, but also men and women from all over the country, indeed from all over Europe, taking part. Let's just enjoy now the fun of this running festival.